For years, my family tried to bury the truth. They used hush money, NDAs, and a wholesome TV image to protect the predator living under their roof. They thought Josh was untouchable. My uncle Jim Bob thought he could outsmart the federal government the same way he outsmarted the tabloids. But the walls of FCI Seagoville don't care about your last name, and they certainly don't care about your TV ratings. You've seen the headlines, motion denied, sentence extended, but what you haven't heard is the reality of what Josh is actually living through right now. We're talking about leaked phone calls, solitary confinement, and a physical transformation that proves the golden boy is gone forever. While Anna is visiting him, clinging to a delusion that he's coming home soon, the courts just delivered the final blow that ensures he isn't going anywhere until the 2030s. I'm Amy King. I'm the cousin who refused to sign the NDA. And today, I'm walking you through the prison nightmare that Josh Duggar created for himself and why justice is finally, truly being served. Let's start with the headline that finally shut down the golden boy delusion once and for all. For years, my uncle Jim Bob poured money into high-priced lawyers, convinced he could buy Josh's way out of this. They appealed to the lower courts, denied. They appealed to the Eighth Circuit, denied. And then they went for the Hail Mary, the United States Supreme Court. But on June 24, 2024, the gavel finally came down for the last time. The Supreme Court refused to even hear his case. Motion denied, two words that mean it is officially over. There is no higher court. There is no magical loophole. For the first time in his life, Josh is facing a problem that his daddy's money and political connections can't fix. I remember reading the news and feeling this massive weight lift off my chest. It wasn't happiness. You can't be happy about this kind of darkness. But it was relief. It meant the victims were safe. It meant the gaslighting was over. He isn't falsely accused. He isn't a martyr. He is a convicted predator who has officially run out of options. And for the family members who are still visiting him, telling him God will open a door, that door is welded shut. You would think that after being sentenced to over 12 years in federal prison, a person would try to keep their head down, not Josh. The entitlement runs so deep in him that he thought the rules didn't apply inside FCI Seagoville either. We found out that he got thrown into the SHU, the special housing unit, which is basically solitary confinement. Why? Because he got caught with a contraband cell phone. Can you imagine? He is in there for crimes involving digital media, and he risks everything to sneak a smartphone into his cell. We don't know exactly what he was doing on it, but the arrogance is staggering. He likely thought he was smarter than the guards. He thought he could still pull strings from the inside, but in federal prison, when you get caught, you don't get a stern talk from your dad. You get thrown in the hole. For weeks, he was in a tiny concrete box, completely cut off from the world. No video calls with Anna, no commissary, just him and his thoughts. And honestly, I hope that silence was deafening. I hope for the first time he was forced to actually sit with the reality of who he is and what he did. Actions have consequences. We tried to teach him that growing up, but I guess he had to learn it the hard way at 35 years old. Because of that little phone stunt, his sentence actually got extended. Originally, he was looking at an August 2032 release. But the prison system doesn't play games. They tacked on nearly 2 extra months to his time. His current release date is now set for October 23. 2 months might not sound like a lot when you're serving 12 years, But trust me, in a place like Seagoville, every single day is a battle. That is 2 more months of missing his children's birthdays, 2 more months of bad food, 2 more months of looking over his shoulder. And the scary part for him is that if he messes up again, that date can keep moving. He doesn't have good behavior, credit guaranteed. He has to earn it. And so far, he is proving that he hasn't changed a bit. He is still the guy who thinks he can break the rules and get away with it. But the Federal Bureau of Prisons is keeping score. Let's talk about where he is actually sleeping at night. FCI Seagoville isn't a country club prison. It has a reputation. A huge percentage of the inmate population, there are sex offenders. You might think, oh, so he's safe among his own kind. Wrong. It means the tension in that place is sky high. We've heard reports about the conditions, power outages, no heat during the winter, food that is literally expired or infested with bugs. It's a nightmare. For a guy who grew up in the big house with a commercial kitchen and maids, sorry, his sisters cleaning up after him, this is a rude awakening. He is living in a dorm style room with dozens of other men. There is no privacy. And let's be real, his last name makes him a target. Everyone knows who Josh Duggar is. He isn't anonymous. He walked in there thinking he was a celebrity, but in prison, being famous for hurting children puts a target on your back. He is likely living in constant fear, surrounded by people who have nothing left to lose. It's a far cry from the Town compound. If you want to know how he's really doing, just look at the photos. We saw that leaked image, the beard, the receding hairline, the weight. He looks rough. He looks like a man who has aged 10 years in 10 months. The fresh face politician act is gone. The TV makeup is gone. He looks unrecognizable. Growing a beard in prison is often a sign of giving up or maybe trying to blend in. But to me, it looks like the outside is finally matching the inside. For years, he hid behind a clean cut image. He wore the suits, he flashed the smile, he played the part of the perfect Christian father. Now, the mask is off. He looks exhausted. He looks defeated. And while I never want to glory in someone's suffering, there is a part of me that sees that photo and thinks, finally, the world sees him as he really is. No polish, no PR spin, just a man rotting in a cell of his own making. I want you to picture this for a second. You are a single mom, practically speaking, with 7 children. The youngest is a toddler. Every few weeks, you pack all 7 of them into a van and drive 6 hours from Town, Arkansas to Seagoville, Texas. That is Anna's life right now. We hear reports that she visits him as often as she can. But think about what that trip is actually like. It's not a fun family road trip. It's a pilgrimage to a federal prison. Those kids, they have to walk through metal detectors. They have to be patted down by guards. They have to sit in a sterile visitation room with vending machines, watching their dad in a beige uniform. They can't hug him freely. They can't play catch with him. It breaks my heart for those children. Mackenzie is a teenager now. She is old enough to understand where she is. She is old enough to Google her last name, and yet Anna drags them down there, determined to keep the family unit intact. She stays in Texas with friends or family, exhausted just to give Josh a few hours of normalcy. She thinks she is being a loyal wife. But from where I'm standing, it looks like she is forcing those kids to participate in their father's punishment. They didn't commit the crime, but they are certainly doing the time right alongside him. Ooh, everyone knows Uncle Jim Bob loves money. buy used and save the difference, right? Well, there is no saving the difference when you are fighting the feds. The amount of money he has poured into Josh's defense is staggering. We are talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. Top tier defense attorneys don't come cheap. The appeals, the motions, the forensic experts, it all adds up. And for what? To defend the indefensible. We've seen him selling off real estate. We've seen him liquidating assets. I truly believe Josh is single handedly draining the family fortune. And the sad part is that money could have gone to therapy for the victims, it could have gone to college funds for the grandkids. Instead, it went into a black hole of legal fees for a case that was open and shut. Jim Bob thought he could pay to make the problem go away, just like he did in the past. But the federal justice system doesn't have a price tag. He bet the farm on Josh, and he lost. You might be wondering, how does Anna still stand by him? How does Jim Bob still support him? The answer is terrifying. They genuinely believe he is innocent. I know it sounds insane to us. The evidence was overwhelming. The computer experts, the router data, the text messages, it was all there. But inside the IBLP bubble, they have created an alternate reality. They believe in conspiracy theories. I've heard the whispers. They talk about a French hacker. They talk about how the Biden administration targeted Josh because he's a conservative Christian. They talk about remote access framing him. It is easier for them to believe that the entire US government conspired against their son than to accept that he is a predator. Denial is a powerful drug. If they admit he is guilty, their whole world crumbles. Their parenting, their rules, their moral superiority, it all falls apart. So they choose the lie, they cling to it, and sadly, they are raising Josh's 7 kids to believe that their dad is a martyr, not a criminal. I mentioned the HU earlier, but I want to explain what that really does to a person. The Sishichu Special Housing Unit is prison within a prison. Josh spent weeks there. It's 23 hours a day in a cell the size of a parking space. No interaction, no commissary snacks, no phone calls to Anna. For a narcissist like Josh, who needs constant attention and validation, that is hell on earth. He doesn't have an audience in there. He can't charm the guards. He can't manipulate the situation. He is just alone. I honestly think that punishment hurt him more than the actual prison sentence. It stripped him of his power. And when he came out, he wasn't the celebrity inmate anymore. He was just another guy who broke the rules and got slapped down. I hope that time in the dark forced him to look in the mirror. But knowing Josh, he probably just spent the whole time feeling sorry for himself, thinking about how unfair it all is. Every time a new report comes out, people ask me, is Anna going to leave him? Is she finally filing for divorce? I wish I could say yes. I have tried to reach out. I have posted messages to her. I have said, Anna, you have an out. You can leave. But so far, she is digging in. In her mind, leaving him would be a sin. It would be breaking her covenant. She has been brainwashed to believe that a wife stands by her husband no matter what, even if he betrays her in the worst possible way. Plus, look at her situation. She has 7 kids, no education, no job, and she is living on Jim Bob's property. She is financially trapped. If she leaves Josh, she loses her housing. She loses her support system. She loses everything she has ever known. It is a cage. But I will say this 2032 is a long way away. 7 years is a long time to drive that van back and forth. A long time to be a single mom, maybe, just maybe, as the kids get older and start asking questions, the cracks will start to form. I haven't given up hope for her yet, but right now, she is still Mrs. Josh Duggar, standing by her man. You learn a lot about people when the chips are down. When Josh was facing sentencing, the judge received dozens of letters begging for leniency. We all know who wrote the big ones. Anna wrote one calling him the kindest man she knows. My Aunt Michelle wrote one talking about his tender heart. Reading those letters made me physically ill. I remember tweeting, "Are they delusional?" Because that is the only word for it. But pay attention to who didn't write a letter. Jill didn't write one. Jinger didn't write one. Joy didn't write one. Even Jessa stayed silent. That silence was deafening. For the first time, the Duggar sisterhood broke rank. They refused to lie for him. They refused to tell a federal judge that a predator was a good guy. That split in the family is real and it is permanent. On one side, you have Jim Bob and Michelle protecting their golden boy at all costs. On the other side, you have the daughters who actually lived through his abuse finally saying, enough. That silence from his victims was the loudest testimony in that entire courtroom. People ask me if I think prison will change him. Federal prisons like Seagoville have specific programs for sex offenders. They are supposed to break down your denial. They force you to admit what you did. But here is the problem. You can't fix a narcissist who thinks he is God's gift to the world. Growing up, when Josh got in trouble, he wasn't sent to real therapy. He was sent to a work camp to dig ditches and pray. They treated abuse like it was just a bad habit, like smoking or swearing. So now, sitting in a federal prison, do I think he is taking the treatment seriously? No, I think he is doing exactly what he has always done, faking it. He knows the right Bible verses to quote. He knows how to smile at the counselors. But as I wrote in my book, Holy Disruptor, I looked him in the eyes once and saw nothing but a creepy, empty smile. He admitted he knew better than to hurt me, but he hurt his own sisters. That isn't a sickness you cure with a workbook. That is a character defect. And until he admits he is a predator, no amount of prison therapy is going to make him safe to be around children again. Let's shift the focus to the people who actually matter, the victims. For years, their pain was just a footnote in Josh's story. But now they are thriving. Jill is out there telling her truth, writing books, and reclaiming her voice. Jinger is living her life in LA, free from the fear he caused. Every day that he sits in that cell is a day they can breathe easier. I reached out to the fifth victim while writing my book because I wanted to make sure she wasn't blindsided. That is what respect looks like. Josh never respected them. To him, they were just objects. But seeing them now raising their own families, breaking the cycle of abuse, it is the best revenge. He is rotting in a cage in Texas, balding and miserable, while the women he tried to destroy are stronger than he will ever be. Justice isn't just about him being locked up, it's about them being free. And for the first time in their lives, they don't have to worry about Big Brother watching them. He is the one being watched now. How does a boy become a monster? It didn't happen overnight. It happened because he was the golden child. Josh was the firstborn, the prince. In the IBLP culture, the eldest son is practically a deity. No matter what he did, he was protected. When he molested his sisters, he wasn't turned into the police. He was protected. When he cheated on Anna, he was protected. He learned early on that the rules didn't apply to him. Jim Bob and Michelle created a world where Josh could do no wrong. They prioritized his reputation over his sister's safety. That entitlement followed him all the way to adulthood. Even during the trial, he walked in with a smirk, like he expected his dad to fix it. Well, guess what? The golden child armor finally cracked. He is sitting in Seagoville right now, realizing that for the first time in his life, being a Josh Duggar is a liability, not a get out of jail free card. He wasn't born a predator, but he was certainly raised to believe he could be one without consequences. I've heard stories about how inmates treat people with Josh's charges. In prison hierarchy, his crime is at the very bottom. Even the hardened criminals look down on people who hurt children. Seagoville has a lot of sex offenders, so he isn't alone, but he is definitely not popular. He walked in there thinking he was a celebrity. He probably thought he would run the place. But reports say he is keeping to himself. He isn't the leader of the pack. He is just inmate Fate 245935051. That ego check must be devastating for him. He used to have millions of people watching his show. Now, he has to watch his back in the chow hall. I hope he feels that smallness. I hope he feels that vulnerability. Because that is exactly how he made his victims feel for years. He is finally experiencing a fraction of the fear he inflicted on others. And honestly, it's about time. Things are bad when even the lawyers want out. We heard reports that Josh was furious with his legal team after the appeal failed. He is a man who is used to getting his way. So when the Supreme Court said no, he didn't blame himself, he blamed the attorneys. He reportedly tried to file motions claiming ineffective assistance of counsel. That is the classic narcissist move. It's never his fault. It's always someone else's incompetence. But here is the reality. His lawyers were some of the best money could buy. They threw everything at the wall. Routers, hackers, conspiracy theories. The problem wasn't the lawyers. The problem was the client. The problem was the evidence. Watching him scramble to fire people from inside a prison cell is pathetic. It shows he still thinks he is the smartest person in the room. But the judge shut that down too. He is stuck. He can't fire his way out of a federal conviction. And honestly, watching him turn on the people who tried to save him just proves that loyalty means nothing to Josh Duggar unless it serves him. Christmas at the big house used to be a massive production. Hundreds of gifts, banners, the whole family gathered around. Josh loved being the center of attention during those times. Now, Christmas in FCI Seagoville is a tray of lukewarm turkey and a phone call. I think about that contrast a lot. While Anna is at the big house trying to make the holiday magical for her 7 kids without their dad, Josh is sitting in a gray room. He doesn't get to hand out presents. He doesn't get to lead the prayer. For a guy who thrived on being the head of the household, that isolation during the holidays must eat him alive. And frankly, he deserves it. He stole the innocence of so many children. He stole the peace of his own sisters during those holidays years ago. Now he is the one sitting in the dark. I know my mom and my cousins still pray for him on Christmas, but for me, I just pray for the people he hurt. I pray they are enjoying their peace, knowing he can't ruin their holiday ever again. Let's talk about 2032. Let's say he serves his full time and gets out. Do people think he just goes back to normal? Absolutely not. The probation conditions for Josh are some of the strictest I have ever seen. For 20 years after his release, he will be watched like a hawk. He can't own a computer without permission. He can't access the internet freely. He can't have unsupervised contact with minors, including potentially his own grandchildren by that point. He will have to wear a GPS monitor. He will have to attend sex offender treatment. His life as a free man will basically be a different kind of prison. He will never be the celebrity again. He will be a registered sex offender for the rest of his life. Jim Bob can't buy his way out of that registry. So even when he walks out of those gates, he isn't free. He is marked. And that brand will follow him until the day he dies. I want to take a moment to speak directly to Anna because I know she watches everything. Anna, if you are hearing this, look at the facts. Look at the sentence extension. Look at the motion denied. Look at the man in the photos. He lied to you. He betrayed you. And he is continuing to drag you down with him. You are still young. You have 7 beautiful children who need a mother who is whole, not a mother who is exhausted from chasing a ghost. It is not a sin to protect your children. It is not a sin to say enough. You have a cousin who loves you. You have a world of people who would support you if you walked away today. You don't have to wait until 2032. You don't have to be the martyr. The Duggar machine wants you to stay because you are their prop, but you are a human being. Please, for the sake of Mackenzie, for the sake of the little ones, wake up. The nightmare only ends when you decide to wake up. So here we are. The 19 kids and counting empire is gone. The show is canceled. The golden boy is in prison. For a long time, it felt like the bad guys were winning. It felt like money and power could hide anything. But the truth has a way of coming out. Josh Duggar thought he was untouchable. He found out he wasn't. Jim Bob thought he could control the narrative. He found out he couldn't. This isn't just a story about a celebrity scandal. It's a story about justice catching up to arrogance. I am proud of my cousins who spoke out. I am proud of the system that finally worked. And I am proud to be the black sheep who refused to stay silent. The present nightmare isn't just about Josh suffering. It's about the rest of us finally being free from his shadow. He is where he belongs. And the rest of us, we are moving forward. I'm Amy King. Thank you for listening to The Truth. And remember, no NDA is strong enough to hide the light